First, with both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris preoccupied in Europe, celebrating an endless war. Just who's running the show back here at home? It is definitely not Pothole Pete Buttigieg. Now, America's incompetent transportation secretary. He has been utterly MIA, and in just 2 years, he aimlessly has presided over multiple airline fiascos, chaos at America's shipping ports, a supply chain nightmare that is still ongoing, and now a disaster in East Palestine, Ohio, a train wreck followed by a controlled chemical burn that released all these dangerous chemicals into the air, the soil, the water. We have dead fish, dead animals, sick people. But Pothole Pete, he's nowhere to be found. Same with Joe. And for days he has said nothing, did nothing about a toxic fire so huge that it could be seen on Pittsburgh's weather radar. Now, ultimately, Pothole Pete, he was shamed into making a statement. Last week, he declared that East Palestine was getting more than enough attention. You decide.
While this horrible situation has gotten a particularly high amount of attention, there are roughly 1,000 cases a year of a train derailing. Obviously, they have levels of severity, but where all of that points us to is a need to continue to raise the bar on rail safety.
Oh, really? That's the answer, Pete? Train wrecks followed by massive chemical burns that kill off local fish and wildlife? That's just an average day? Creeks, streams filled with toxic substances that can be seen by the naked eye? If Pothole Pete seems lazy and out of touch to all of you, that is because it's true. You know, recently he demanded Americans trust him simply because he was once the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, where he, quote, dealt with a lot of disasters. That's what he said. Take a look.
The administration has come under some fire for its response. The mayor of East Palestine has said it took nearly 2 weeks for the White House to contact him. There were shouts of "Where's Pete Buttigieg?" at a town hall meeting last week. What's your response to that? When are you going to go to East Palestine?
Well, I am planning to go, and our folks were on the ground from the first hours. I do want to stress that the NTSB needs to be able to do its work independently. But when I go, the focus is going to be on action. Look, I was mayor of my hometown for 8 years. We dealt with a lot of disasters, natural and human.
A lot of disasters. Okay, so we did a little digging and found some of those so-called disasters that Pothole Pete was forced to manage as mayor. According to the South Bend Tribune, one of his greatest challenges was turning several one-way streets into two-way streets. That's a big challenge. Another major challenge for Pothole Pete, the mayor, well, he had to figure out what to do with all of his city's empty lots. And last but not least, his nickname, Pothole Pete, well, he has it for a reason, because under his leadership, South Bend, Indiana was home to the worst roads in the entire state, or as Politico put it, quote, the former mayor of a town with an 18-route bus system and giant pothole problem will now have to shepherd Biden's national infrastructure plan. In other words, Mayor Pete is in way over his head. He was from day one. Now, of course, Buttigieg still hasn't bothered to visit East Palestine. He says he'll go when the, quote, time is right. Now, of course, the only reason Pete is even considering a visit is because former President Donald Trump, he's going to be there tomorrow. And meanwhile, Joe Biden will probably never visit. You know, he doesn't seem to care what's happening in Ohio. And if it's not in Delaware, why bother? After all, the people of Ukraine, they seem to be his #1 priority. Now listen to the mayor of East Palestine when he heard Joe Biden was in Ukraine with President Zelensky. Take a look.
That was the biggest slap in the face. That tells you right now he doesn't care about us. So
agreed.
He can send every agency he wants to, but I found that out this morning in one of the briefings that he was in the Ukraine giving millions of dollars away to people over there, not to us, and I'm furious.
On President's Day in our country.
Yeah, President's Day in our country. He's over in Ukraine, so that tells you what kind of guy he is.
Now, Biden is still in Europe tonight and not East Palestine.